This is Mr. Gill from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for holding this hearing. And I'd also like to thank the witnesses for taking the time to be here today. I know y'all are busy, so really appreciate it. Mayor Bowser, thank you to you especially for coming here. You've been mayor for about 10 years, right?
Yes.
Okay. And during that time, would you describe D.C. as a safe city?
Yes.
You would?
Listen, Mr. Gill, and it was brought up earlier by the Congresswoman from
The murder
Detroit.
rate in Washington, D.C. is the fourth highest of any city in the country. Would you describe that as a safe city?
I have heard every statistic and factoid, and they're all different about where our city.
Are you disputing that Washington, D.C. is the fourth highest murder rate in the country?
I'm not familiar with that statistic.
You're not familiar with that
statistic. What I know, Mr.
This is
Gill,
your city.
Mr. Gill,
Respectfully, this is your city.
Respectfully, I know that we have driven our murder rate down.
What was the homicide rate in 2014 before you were elected?
I don't know.
Do you know how much the homicide rate has changed during your tenure as mayor?
I do.
How much?
It has gone up.
It's gone up by about
going
70%.
down.
It's gone up by about 70% from
I don't think that's
2014 to
correct. I don't think that's
2024. Those are
correct.
from the Metropolitan Police Department. That is correct.
I don't think that number is correct.
You should know the crime statistics for your own city, especially whenever it's this dangerous. Do you know how carjackings have trended during your time in office?
I know that they have gone down.
They're up over 500% since from 2014 to 2024. That's not a safe city. I don't think any person would call that a safe city. We'll move on. Do you agree that defunding the police makes our communities less safe, don't you?
This is what I want to say.
It's a straightforward question. You're not going to filibuster. Do you think that defunding the police makes our communities less safe?
What I know is that people have moved here. People have sent their kids here. People have started businesses here. We have record.
Does defunding the police make our communities more or less safe?
Those are the indications.
Does defunding the police make our communities more or less safe?
People want to live, work, and visit.
You won't even back your own police department right now. I'm asking you, does defunding the police make our communities more or less safe? And you won't give me a straight answer.
I've already answered that today.
And why don't you tell me again, do you think that defunding the police makes our communities more or less safe?
I've never defunded the police, nor would I.
So you think it makes our communities less safe? Is that correct?
I just told you, I've never defunded the police, and
I
never would.
understand that. You know, you may not have defunded the police, and that's a good thing, but you did provide a $125,000 grant to an organization lobbying to defund the police. Are you aware of that?
What is that you just raised?
It's an organization called HIPS that you provided just this year, fiscal year 2025. $125,000 grant to.
I think we funded them to do public health work.
Quote, "It's time we shifted to a society free of police and systems of incarceration."
We fund them for public health work.
For public health?
Yes.
Does this make our communities more healthful?
We fund them for public health.
Do you think defunding our police and lobbying to defund our police and undermine local law enforcement makes our communities more safe?
I've answered that
or healthful?
question.
Do you think that providing tax dollars to an organization who wants to defund our police is good for the residents of Washington, D.C.?
We wouldn't fund them for that purpose. We would fund them.
But you funded them, and you chose to give them money. You gave them hard-working tax dollars to an organization that wants to defund the police.
We fund them for public health.
Do you think that giving housing, free housing to illegal aliens is an appropriate use of tax dollars?
We think if it keeps people off the streets, then we have to keep people off the streets.
You agree with giving your residents tax dollars and using them to give subsidized housing for illegal aliens?
But Mr. Gill, we also didn't agree with the governor of Texas or Arizona busing people, tricking them to come to our city.
And
we didn't agree with that either.
It's surprising to me because you're also funding NGOs that support free housing for illegal aliens.
And I hope you would agree that other governors shouldn't send people on buses that don't have any housing to our city.
Free housing for illegal aliens in your city. That makes your city less safe. I want to move on. In May of 2024, and this was referenced earlier, there were some major pro-Palestinian protests and sit-ins at George Washington University. This was during final exam season. They were terrorizing Jewish students. They were doing it for weeks. It was a major problem. The police were called in, and you stopped them from doing their job. Why is that?
I didn't stop the police from doing anything.
It is illegal for them to block a roadway. We've got the law right here. It's unlawful for a person, alone or in concert with others, to obstruct or incommode any street avenue. That's exactly what they were doing, and you refused to allow police to clear them out. Why is that?
That's incorrect.
Why would you stop police? Clear the record then.
I never stopped the
You didn't
police.
stop them.
No, I did not.
You didn't stop them. Would you like to explain what happened? Why police never cleared out this roadway?
Police did clear roadways.
They were there for weeks.
Police cleared roadways.
They were there for weeks,
Actually,
terrorizing Jewish
they were
students, and this is
probably
in
on
your city.
private property, not on the roadway.
No, they were on public roadways.
No, they weren't.
Terrorizing Jewish students,
they
and you
weren't.
allowed it to happen.
No,
I
they
yield
weren't.
my time back.
No, they weren't.
A heated exchange erupted during a congressional hearing as Representative Brandon Gill of Texas sharply questioned Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser over crime, policing, and public safety in the nation's capital. Gill began by thanking the chair and witnesses before turning directly to Mayor Bowser, noting that she has served as mayor for roughly a decade. He asked a straightforward question: would she describe Washington, D.C. as a safe city? Mayor Bowser answered yes. Gill immediately pushed back, citing crime statistics and claiming that Washington, D.C. has one of the highest murder rates in the country, ranking fourth among U.S. cities. When asked whether she disputed that figure, Bowser said she was not familiar with that specific statistic, emphasizing instead that crime trends vary and that the city has worked to reduce violence. The congressman pressed further, asking what the homicide rate was in 2014, before Bowser took office. The mayor said she did not know the number offhand. Gill then asked whether she was aware of how homicide rates had changed over her 10 years as mayor. Bowser acknowledged that the homicide rate has increased. Gill cited data from the Metropolitan Police Department, stating that homicides in Washington, D.C. have risen by approximately 70% from 2014 to 2024. He also claimed that carjackings have surged by more than 500% during the same period, arguing that such figures contradict the idea that the city is safe. The exchange grew more tense as Gill turned to the issue of policing. He repeatedly asked whether defunding the police makes communities more or less safe. Bowser resisted the framing, saying she has never defunded the police and would not do so. Gill acknowledged that point but then accused the city of indirectly supporting defund the police efforts by awarding a $125,000 grant to an organization called HIPS, which he said advocates for a society without police or incarceration. Bowser responded that the funding was designated for public health services, not for lobbying against law enforcement. Gill challenged that explanation, arguing that taxpayer money should not go to organizations that promote defunding the police, regardless of the stated purpose. The discussion then shifted to immigration. Gill asked whether providing free or subsidized housing to undocumented immigrants is an appropriate use of taxpayer funds. Bowser responded that keeping people off the streets is a public safety priority. She also criticized Republican governors for transporting migrants to Washington, D.C. without coordination. Gill countered that city-funded nonprofits supporting housing for undocumented immigrants make the city less safe. In the final portion of the exchange, Gill raised concerns about pro-Palestinian protests at George Washington University in May 2024. He accused demonstrators of blocking public roadways and terrorizing Jewish students during final exams. Gill claimed that city leadership prevented police from clearing the encampments. Mayor Bowser strongly denied the allegation, saying she never stopped police from enforcing the law and that officers did clear roadways when necessary. She disputed claims that protesters were terrorizing students, stating that many demonstrations occurred on private property rather than public streets. The exchange ended abruptly as Gill yielded back his time, leaving the hearing marked by sharp disagreement, conflicting claims, and a tense back and forth over crime, policing, and leadership in Washington, D.C.